Welcome to The Explainer. I am just so incredibly pumped to share today's story with you. We're diving into this sprawling, totally lore-heavy supernatural thriller script called Finsta, created and written by Claudia D. Reed. And look, this isn't just your standard run-of-the-mill scary story. No way. This is a massive, multi-generational saga. We're talking betrayal, corporate sabotage, and supernatural revenge that reads exactly like the blueprint for a prestige TV drama. It is absolutely fascinating.
And that brings us to the core premise. What actually happens when a cursed family tries to murder the one woman who can literally write the future? It's a pretty provocative question, right? Imagine the insanely toxic, cutthroat family dynamics of a show like Succession, but then cross-pollinate that with the terrifying demonic stakes of The Conjuring. It's a story about ultimate survival, where the battleground is a childhood home and the weapon of choice, ink.
To really set the eerie life-or-death stakes here, just listen to this chilling warning. It's delivered by Maggie, who is a spiritual guide that appears to our protagonist. She says, "Take the food. Do not eat the food." That instantly tells us two very crucial things. One, the danger is inside the house, hiding in plain sight, disguised as a gentle gesture of care. And two, our protagonist has to play along if she wants to survive.
All right, let's dive right into Section 1, The House That Hates Her.
We start with the inciting incident, the exact moment our protagonist is forced back into a deeply hostile environment. Meet Claudia Reed. She's 56 years old, and honestly, she has been entirely stripped of her life. She was this really successful mortgage processor and business consultant, right? But then she was completely blackballed by corporate enemies, specifically this woman named Joan Lucy at East West Bank. Because of this massive corporate sabotage, Claudia ends up evicted, totally penniless, and forced to move back to her childhood home in Queens Village. She is made perfectly, completely vulnerable. And the absolute worst part of all this? She is returning to a family that actively despises her. Her childhood home doesn't just remember her, it literally hates her.
Moving right along to Section 2, the bloodline and the demon.
Because you see, the hatred Claudia faces isn't just your standard family dysfunction. There are some seriously dark, supernatural mechanics driving this bloodline. We've got to define the core threat here, and that is Finsta. Finsta is the demon god of this bloodline. He's known as the destroyer of first daughters and the thief of destinies. Decades ago, Claudia's mother, Nance, actually made a demonic pact for wealth and status, and the price of that pact? Sacrificing Claudia, her very own firstborn daughter, to a life of misery, barrenness, and failure, all so that her other children could thrive. Claudia was literally born just to be the sacrifice.
What's really interesting here is how perfectly the chaotic character dynamics of this script map out into three distinct factions. First up, we've got the villains. That's Claudia's mother, Nance, her golden child brother, Redham Jr., her sister, Rachel, and Rachel's daughter, Kira. Their whole motive is to protect their cursed wealth and physically eliminate Claudia. Next, we have the opportunists, Annie and Luke Walker. They're this elite, wealthy family basically swooping in to steal the Reed family land while the Reeds are distracted with their own mess. And finally, the survivors. That's Claudia, her super observant niece Kyle, and later on this protector named Rex Steele. And this group, they are determined to break the curse once and for all.
So let's look at Section 3, Poison, Prophecy, and Notebooks.
With the factions all set up, let's shift our focus to the escalating conflict happening inside that house. The family decides Claudia needs to go, but they want it to look natural, like depression. The way they attempt this escalates so fast. Step 1, they send Rachel's husband, Alan, a chef who is literally terrified of his own family, to deliver these weird rubbery breakfast dumplings. Claudia totally dumps them. Step 2, Alan brings her soup that faintly smells of bleach and salt because, nothing says I love you quite like toxic tea, right? Claudia refuses all of it. Finally, Step 3, when the poison fails, Redham Jr. sneaks into her room in the dead of night to force pills down her throat, acting almost completely possessed. It's a terrifying, claustrophobic gauntlet she has to run.
But here is where the script totally flips things around. Claudia is not some helpless victim. She actually has an ultimate weapon, her glowing notebooks. See, over the years she's been documenting their crimes and recording all her visions. And the absolute best hook of this story is that whatever Claudia writes in these notebooks actually manifests. By writing down the truth of what her family is doing to her, she is literally rewriting their destinies. She essentially becomes the author of their downfall.
Which brings us to Section 4, The Fall of the Villains.
This is that massive third act shift. It's the moment where the power dynamic completely flips, and the demonic curse totally backfires on the exact people who summoned it. It all peaks in this really intense exchange. Finsta hisses, "You dare rewrite destiny?" And Claudia just simply whispers back, "I dare survive." Wow. This brilliantly illustrates the exact second our protagonist takes total control of the narrative. She is no longer just reacting to them. She is dictating the terms.
As Claudia keeps writing, man, the dominoes just begin to fall in this rapid sequence. First, we have the defection. Rachel's daughter, Kira, actually turns her back on her bloodline to ally with those opportunistic walkers we talked about earlier. The result? They silence her. She turns up dead in the water. Next is the hit and run. The untouchable golden son, Redum Jr., completely spirals into a panic, ends up striking a cyclist with his car, flees the scene, and is ultimately arrested. And then finally, the debt collected. The matriarch, Nance, the one who started all of this, is paralyzed, loses her ability to speak, and is basically claimed by the very demon she worshipped. Finsta totally turns on the family that summoned him.
And the script masterfully delivers this karmic ruin across the board for literally every single secondary character who plotted against Claudia too. Rachel permanently loses her medical license and gets her home foreclosed on. Alan, he's deported back to Barbados in shame. Alan's father, Niels, who actually turns out to be a serial killer in his own right, gets shot on sight by the authorities. And even those untouchable walkers get their massive cover-ups exposed by a relentless investigator named Detective Vega. It is a sweeping, absolute reckoning.
And finally, Section 5, a restored legacy.
So, how exactly does this dark, super traumatic story translate into a triumphant conclusion? Well, the transformation is just incredibly powerful. Think about Act 1 Claudia for a second. She was evicted, completely penniless, isolated, and being literally hunted by her own flesh and blood. But Act 5 Claudia? Oh, she has ascended. She's now a highly successful writer and producer, and her notebooks have literally been turned into Hollywood blockbusters. She is victorious over the demon curse. Plus, she's built this beautiful, chosen family. She's happily married to Rex Steele, a protector who truly honors her past, and she's even taken in her brilliant niece, Kyle, to run her digital empire. She didn't just survive this ordeal, she completely conquered it.
What's super cool is how the author actually distills this massive, sprawling narrative into a really tight, structured television pilot beat sheet called After the Curse. It starts with this cold open teaser showing Rectum just completely broken in prison. Then it takes us right through the total collapse of the old, toxic bloodline in Acts 1 and 2. It beautifully contrasts that with Claudia's thriving new life in Act 3, all building up to that final Act 5 victory. It's just a perfectly paced, gripping structure for a prestige drama series.
The ultimate thematic takeaway of the whole thing is just perfectly captured when Claudia says, "The curse ended with me. The legacy begins with us." It really emphasizes that this isn't just some standard horror story about a demon. It's really a story about how having absolute faith, sticking to unwavering truth, and finding the courage to document your own reality can actually restore everything that other people tried to destroy.
So, I want to leave you all with a bit of a provocative thought today. Look, Finsta is an absolutely wild ride, but its core message is deeply, deeply empowering. It basically asks us to look at the toxic cycles or, the curses in our own lives. So I have to ask you, if you held the pen to your own destiny, what ending would you write? Thank you so much for hanging out and joining me for this explainer today. Keep learning, keep questioning, and I'll catch you guys next time.